Hello everyone, welcome to E-Military. The US reportedly is planning to send more troops to Europe to help Ukraine. US President Joe Biden has orders nearly 3,000 American troops to Eastern Europe in a move what it said to counter Russia. The moves come ahead of a fresh flurry of diplomacy. On Wednesday, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned Russian President Vladimir Putin in a phone call that any further incursion into Ukraine would be a tragic miscalculation. As reported by Reuters, the United States will send nearly 3,000 extra troops to Poland and Romania to shield Eastern Europe from a potential spillover from the crisis over the massing of Russian troops near Ukraine, U.S. officials said on Wednesday. Russia has denied plans to invade Ukraine but signaled it was in no mood for compromise on Wednesday by mocking Britain, calling Prime Minister Boris Johnson utterly confused and accusing British politicians of stupidity and ignorance. Moscow has deployed more than 100,000 troops near Ukraine's borders and says it could take unspecified military measures if its demands are not met, including a promise by NATO never to admit Kiev. A Stryker squadron of around 1,000 U.S. service members based in Vilzek, Germany would be sent to Romania, the Pentagon said, while around 1,700 service members, mainly from the 82nd Airborne Division, would deploy from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to Poland. 300 other service members will move from Fort Bragg to Germany. President Biden said the deployment was consistent with what he had told Russian President Vladimir Putin. As long as he is acting aggressively, we're going to make sure we can reassure our NATO allies and Eastern Europe that we're there, he said, according to media reports on Twitter. The objective, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said, was to send a strong signal to Putin and frankly to the world that NATO matters to the United States and it matters to our allies. We know that Putin also bristles at NATO about NATO. He's made no secret of that. We are making it clear that we're going to be prepared to defend our NATO allies if it comes to that. Hopefully it won't come to that. Poland's Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak said the U.S. deployment was a strong sign of solidarity. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also welcomed it, saying the alliance's response to Russia was defensive and proportional. Efforts to reach a diplomatic solution continued, despite some Western countries describing Russia's main demands as non-starters and Moscow showing no sign of withdrawing them. Reuters reported that Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron discussed coordination of diplomatic efforts and plans to impose economic costs on Moscow should it invade Ukraine, the White House said. Macron said he was planning to talk to Putin soon too. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan is set to visit his counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine on Thursday after pitching Turkey as a mediator to ease tensions with Russia, while German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he would meet Putin in Moscow soon, without giving a date. On the other hand, Russia has criticized U.S. military moves as destructive step. Moscow says the U.S. military deployments in Eastern Europe increase tensions. The U.S. decision to deploy more than 3,000 U.S. troops in Germany, Poland and Romania is a destructive step that makes it harder to reach a compromise over Ukraine, Russia's deputy foreign minister has said, as Moscow continues to build up its forces. Alexander Grushko said the move by Joe Biden would increase military tension and reduce scope for political decision, and would delight Ukrainian authorities, who would continue sabotaging the Minsk agreements with impunity. According to The Guardian, the Minsk agreements of 2014 and 2015 were designed to reach a political settlement in the east of Ukraine, including greater autonomy. John Kirby, a Pentagon spokesperson, said the U.S. movements were designed to deter aggression and enhance our defensive capabilities in frontline allied states. We expect them to move in coming days. Vladimir Putin continues to add forces, combined arms, offensive capabilities. Even over just the last 24 hours, he continues to add in Western Russia and Belarus, and in the Mediterranean and the North Atlantic. Kirby added, he has shown no signs of being interested or willing to de-escalate the tensions. Meanwhile, the NATO Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, said on Thursday that Russia had been moving 30,000 combat troops and modern weapons to Belarus in recent days, Moscow's biggest military deployment to the country since the end of the Cold War. The deployment included Spetsnaz Special Operations Forces, Su-35 fighter jets, dual-capable Iskander missiles, and S-400 air defense systems, Stoltenberg said. All this will be combined with Russia's annual nuclear forces exercise, he added. The term dual-capable, which Stoltenberg used for the Iskander missiles, is used to describe weapons meant for conventional and nuclear warfare. The moves come ahead of a fresh flurry of diplomacy. On Wednesday, Boris Johnson warned Putin in a phone call that any further incursion into Ukraine would be a tragic miscalculation, according to Downing Street. The Kremlin account of the call said Putin had complained that his demand for security guarantees had not been met and accused the Kiev government of the chronic sabotage of the Minsk agreements. On Thursday, the Turkish president and wildcard of NATO diplomacy, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, will fly to Kiev to offer himself again in the role of mediator between Ukraine and Russia. Reports from The Guardian noted that the Erdogan mediation proposal has not yet been picked up by Russia, but Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, and Ibrahim Kalin, the chief advisor to Erdogan, spoke on Tuesday about their commitment to deter further Russian aggression against Ukraine, according to a White House statement.